Welcome to Rainbow Soul Vodcast, where our Soulstrology comes forward to help you manage your everyday life, with forecasts and deep dives on natal charts and queer perspectives on the planets, transits, and more. A group discussion about upcoming transits with tips on how to read these transits in your own chart. Hollis offers years of wisdom and natal chart knowledge with Bright Hawk's positive perspective and LeKross's inquiry. We offer the complete queer astrology experience. Welcome to Rainbow Soul. Please help us by subscribing, sharing, and commenting and reviewing. You can also learn where else Rainbow Soul is offered on our website at RainbowSoul.show.
Welcome to Rainbow Soul. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for listening and tuning in to Rainbow Soul. Thank you for liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing. Please. My name is Hollis, and I'm one of the hosts of Soulstrology Rainbow Soul. And
I am Bright Hawk. You can learn more about me at brighthawkproductions.com. I'm a musician, a storyteller, the author of this wonderful book, The Dancing Hippo, a gender-neutral book that's all about resilience and shining your light and living your best life. And
I'm LeKross, jack of all trades, master of none, professional student, and yeah, that's me.
Well, and so I want to take a moment. Let's all take a minute to breathe. Okay, so take a deep breath. Take a moment to feel your feet on the floor, your bottom in the seat, and feel your head connected to the light above, and feel a ray of light coming down from above, going through the top of your crown chakra, and all the way down through your spine, all the way down into the earth, connecting you with everything and all things around you. Take a moment to feel your soul. Just take a few deep breaths. Blow away any thoughts. Let those thoughts go. Just allow your soul to emerge forward. Feel the essence that is you, that is infinitely forever, beyond just the body that you are here now, but all of your past lives and all of your lives going forward. May you receive any needed information at this moment from the records above. May the Akashic records just download into your mind in this moment. Receive any messages you need to receive about your past or future lives. And know that you are as infinite as the moon, as the planets, and as the universe itself. And allow Neptune to shine its ray through your mind and to enlighten your third eye during these times as the veil falls thin between this dimension and other dimensions. Thank you, Neptune. Take another deep breath. Loosen your shoulders and relax into this moment as you begin to wiggle your toes and your fingers and come into your body now. We are all here and now. And open your third eye and be ready to receive the messages of the planets and the lessons for your soul. And just open your eyes and come into the now. Fantastic. Beautiful. Thank you, Bright Hawk.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks for bringing that beautiful music. Oh, boy. So, I think this week's astrology should be interesting for most of us. First, I'm going to share my chart here. Here we go. And I just want to say that, first of all, friends, that as we move into the first, this forecast will be from October 17th to the 23rd. And be aware that, first of all, we are in eclipse season. Okay, so the eclipses are beginning to come round. So what does that mean, right? So could we talk a little bit about that, Bright Hawk?
Oh, of course. Well, eclipse season, it happens 4 times a year. And whenever it always begins with the new moon. The new moon, of course, is the same time as the sun and the moon are in the same side of the sky, if you will, when we look at our chart. And so when we talk about this one, the new moon it's kind of interesting because the sun goes into Scorpio around the 23rd, but the moon goes into Scorpio actually closer to the 25th. So the new moon is right on the line of Libra and Scorpio. And the solar eclipse will be a full eclipse in Europe, but here it'll be partial. We'll see very little of it actually. But then, of course, 2 weeks later is always a full moon new moon followed by a full moon followed by a new moon, right? About every 2 weeks, right? So a couple of weeks later here in North America, it'll be a total lunar eclipse. And so the difference between the two, a solar eclipse is, from our perspective, when the moon passes in front of the sun. So we're looking at it, the moon passes in front of the sun. You get that beautiful illumination of the crown of the sun. And when a lunar eclipse is happening, which is we're looking at a full moon and the sun's shadow, the Earth's shadow. So the moon is on one side, we're the Earth, and here's the sun, right? We cast the shadow across the moon and it makes it look red, right? And so you go from a glowing white, bright moon to it starts to turn pinky orange, and then it gets darker and oranger and darker, and that whole thing, and then it disappears. And then everything always in motion, right? Everything's always changing. So the new moon is going to be October 24th, 25th, depending on where you are. Solar eclipse, full solar eclipse if you're in Europe, very much a partial solar eclipse in North America. And then again, depending on where you are, November 7th, 8th is the full lunar eclipse. And that'll be a complete lunar eclipse here in the United States in Scorpio.
Yeah, and the thing about eclipses is, if you've ever heard someone say a total eclipse of the heart, they're not kidding. Like, that line from that song, what they're referring to is a change. You went from loving to hating, or from hate to love. So things could really get changed during that moment. Things could change on a dime very quickly for you. So you just want to be aware of that energy. There's not a whole lot. You don't want to prevent these changes because they could very well be great changes, right?
Well, we talk about this a lot, and this is where the stars tell us about our fate. So when we talk about things that are like yods, the finger of God, those are fated signs in astrology. Eclipses are fate. Whatever happens in the next 4 weeks, because that's what we're talking about, is the next 4 weeks, really, from pre-eclipse to after eclipse. It's fated. It has a direction all its own. You find yourself pulled in a way that you're like, I'm supposed to go that way, or do that thing, or talk to this person. I don't know why I'm supposed to talk to this person. Those are fated moments. Go with it. Don't resist, because that's what, there is no resisting. I kind of think, resistance is futile. I know that's a terrible saying from the Borg, but but when you think about fated energy, when you embrace the saying everything happens for a reason, I think that sometimes that's totally true, but I'm not sure it's always 100% true. When maybe you only figure that out in hindsight, right? That's probably the truth of the matter there. But when you sort of step back later and you go, wow, everything does happen for a reason. I guess I was supposed to go to that thing so I could meet that person who introduced me to so-and-so that changed my business forever. There are fated moments in life, and this time that we're in, the season that we're in, eclipse season, definitely has that vibration. And the interesting thing about this whole thing that we're going to be talking about, Soulstrology, this week, is that we start off the week with so many blessings, so many trines, 11, like angel numbers all over the place. We start off the week with really strong amount of blessings. So, of course, when things are going good, make sure you're counting your blessings, because that's how you get more of them.
For sure. For sure. And I feel like the eclipses, also be aware, like if you have the nodes in Scorpio or Taurus, you need to be paying attention, because nodes are about your past lives. So your south node is about your past life. Your north node is where you're headed, your destiny, your fate. And so what you want to think about there is, okay, well, the eclipses are going to be coming towards, the sun is going to enter Scorpio at the end of this week, along with Venus. So things are going to start getting lit up. So you want to be paying attention to that. So take a look and see where your nodes are. They kind of look like little horseshoes. The one that's upside down, like the open part is up, that's your south node. And the one that's down, it kind of goes, like that, reminds you of the letter N, is the north node. Okay. And that's how you can remember it. So you want to look at where the nodes are, and in your chart, you want to be paying attention to where they are, because that will have a lot to do with even people that come into your life, could be coming in, like I say, through the south node, meaning that there's some sort of transits in your south node, and now you're meeting people that you were destined to meet for some reason. Like maybe they're a past life lover or a past life partner or something. Could be anything. So in the beginning of the week, I just wanted to point out that we'll still be in sun trining. The sun will be trining Mars, which is a great blessing. But as I've said in the past, that can totally be taken for granted, especially with a lot of action and moving forward. That's the sun trine Mars. A lot of things that's going forward. It could feel very busy. Don't take that for granted. Sometimes being busy is a good thing. And even though it feels overwhelming in the moment, there's something to be said about being bored. Sorry, I'm a doer and I like to do things. And if life is too boring, depression checks in. not fun. So be aware of Sun trining Mars. The Venus is trining Mars. So pay attention to do what you love. You need to be doing what you love through October 26th. Really make sure everything you do is what you love. Okay? So this brings joy to my heart. I like this. I like learning this. I like knowing about this.
This is follow your bliss. And what does the hero's journey begin with? Follow your bliss, right? You know, what is your calling? What lights you up? That's what you should be focusing on. And it's going to be great energy for folks that are doing that. And I have to say, though, when it's that strong, if you're not doing your calling, if you're not doing your bliss, if you're not on your path, I'm not sure. I'd love to know how it's going for you. I imagine it could have its challenges. And, you know, the heart has its calling, and it usually has a way of telling us if we're willing to listen. So there's a lot of blessing energy in this, and an opportunity to pay attention to, wow, this feels good. I'm in the flow. What are the things that happen that make that happen for you? Because it's not always going to be, you know, trines aren't always there. Sometimes they are, and sometimes they're not. So definitely fun to ride that. And it's an air energy. So that's, you know, thinking, journaling, writing. Yeah.
I was thinking that maybe the grand trines, if you're not doing what you're called to, you probably are thinking about what you love and thinking, how can I get to what I love?
Right.
And so if you find yourself thinking of that, don't dismiss it. Listen, because Spirit's trying to call you forth. Instead of living a sort of average or mediocre life, step forward into something better for you, because you can live a life where you do what you love. I promise you can. I used to think that was impossible, and I didn't even know what I loved. So I am living proof that you can do what you love. I never dreamed I would be an astrologer. And when we're done recording this, I have 2 professional astrology readings, okay? So I'm just going to say, friends, if there is some part of you that doesn't believe you can do it, I call bullshit. Yes, you can do it, okay? Listen, but you have to listen, I noticed. And some of us, it's easier for some of us than others. And maybe that's because of how big you're headed to, okay? And so sometimes it's really easy for people, and they just fall right into everything they wanted. And some of us have to work a little harder for that. And that's okay, because just know that that hard work is leading you somewhere special. So if you find yourself thinking, writing, journaling, anything air sign, even singing or anything like that, listen to that, okay? Listen, listen, listen. The biggest challenge is the T-square, that is pointing to the Venus and the Sun. And that would probably be more potential to really affect you if you're not quite doing what you want. If there's some part of you that's like, I used to like this, but now I don't like this anymore, especially with Moon and Pluto sort of pulling on each other. And then the T-square is the point part is the part that's kind of pulling down and pushing you away from this opposition of Moon and Pluto. So the Moon is in Cancer and the Pluto is in Capricorn, and Pluto is about death and rebirth. So especially like if you've lost somebody recently, someone has passed away in your life, and you're like, I used to love this, doing this with my dad, but now that he's passed, I hate it. So that's okay. Please listen to yourself. That's the Sun and Venus. And I assure you that your father on the other side would not expect you to keep doing it. Okay. So even though he may have said that here on earth, he doesn't want that. In spirit on the other side, they realize that the best thing you could do is follow your heart. So that's like the biggest challenge of the week. Sun squaring Pluto until the 27th. That could create tension. And so I wouldn't be surprised if you're learning about death, coming to terms with death, changing your viewpoint about death, those kinds of things. So, explore. There are a lot of different perspectives about death and even about change. Be open to change. Change is what we're supposed to do, friends. We're not supposed to be the same 17-year-old punk rocker we were, okay? We're supposed to change. That's called evolution, and I'm so grateful when we do. So change is important. We all think we'd love our politicians to change, right? Okay, so let's hope we change too. Jupiter, go ahead.
I had a question. Well, not a question, but it's a slight observation. Like,
go ahead.
Now, all the trines, which are good things, right, are all in air signs. Okay. Mm-hmm. And, I found it interesting. You were saying something about listen, because a lot of air signs are more about communication and speaking. And I find it interesting that you're saying listen, because we tend to forget that listening is a really deep part of communication. It's not just talking, it's being able to sit back, stay quiet, and absorb everything. So I find it interesting that these trines are really all not just about speaking what you want, but absorbing what you want and being willing to do it. So, I mean, I don't know if that's...
it's also about thinking.
Yeah.
But you have to listen to your thoughts.
Right.
Sometimes we don't listen to our good thoughts, which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people do listen to their negative thoughts, but don't always listen to their positive thoughts. And I'm just saying, pay more attention to your positive thoughts.
Right.
Because your mind will tell you all kinds of things.
That's right.
But yeah, I appreciate that deep lesson about listening. That's something my father would constantly remind me to do.
So when we start off the week, the moon is still in its rulership in Cancer. So think about what it feels like to feel at home. You feel like you get to be yourself. And it's a waning crescent moon. So a waning crescent moon means you're bringing things to a conclusion, releasing and letting go. So that's what I was thinking about when you were talking about Pluto, and maybe the way you've thought about death has potentially changed. You're reevaluating things and letting go of what doesn't maybe work anymore, and embracing, that this makes sense to me now. And that's the way it should be, right? We're not 10 anymore. We don't want to continue to think like a child. We continuously evolve, I hope. So the moon is in Cancer until the 18th, and then it goes into Leo, and it's continues to be in a grand trine.
There's a lot going on the 18th as far as blessings. This is a good day to do anything that you need to do. I'm so glad, because we have a Let's Dance gig that day.
Oh, Let's Dance Activities is the nonprofit that we do, where we go to nursing homes and memory care facilities. We put everybody in a circle, and Hollis dances with them, and I sit in the center of the circle and play this music, and it's an amazing thing.
You can find out more at letsdanceactivities.org.
Yeah.
But the fun thing about that,
we have that, because that program is all about blessings. So to be in the blessing vibe is really quite wonderful.
Yeah, and we're still in grand trines with air, right? So grand trine means that they're all. So the difference between a trine is just an aspect that is a certain degrees apart, and they're kind of that many degrees apart from each other, okay? But a grand trine is when 3 planets are directly those degrees apart from each other, all in the same element sign. So they're all in air, okay? So these are 2 grand trines in air, involving, one of them involves Vesta and the other involves Saturn. And so all that really means, the difference between the two is the one is about the system, and the other one is about what you're dedicated to, what you're committed to. And I'm laughing because, yeah, Let's Dance, I'm definitely committed to our elders and taking better care of our elders. And I definitely have to deal with the system when I go into nursing homes, okay? dealing with the way we're dealing with our elders right now, which I think could be improved. So so I'm just saying that, you know, that's what I mean by the system. I mean, like, you know, when you have to deal with changing your name, when you have to deal with going to the doctors, those kinds of things are the system. And Vesta is about what really speaks to your heart, what you know in your heart to be true, and what you're committed to. And so you got the moon in Leo, right, Bright Hawk?
Right. Yeah. Not a lot happening.
Okay.
Besides what I shared with you.
Okay. And it's in a grand trine, the moon.
Yeah.
Okay. And then on the 19th,
Big
boy,
happening.
sky's gonna light up.
But again, there's yods, which are the finger of God, trines. There's a lot of blessing energy, and some T-squares, and kites that have oppositions, you know, which basically becomes a very dynamic conversation between energies. Would you say?
Yeah, well, I would say that the kites, okay, so we have one kite involving the sun, Vesta, Mars, Venus, and the moon, because what's going on is that the sun and Venus are conjunct, okay, so the two of them are kind of loving up on each other. They've been loving up for a while now. They're moving together in the sky. And what that does is it actually, the sun actually projects love as a result, because Venus is all about love, and it's about beauty and even style. So if you're in that style world, stuff like that. So that's Venus, right? And the sun is moving with it, and it pretty much projects or makes louder whatever's going on. And so the best thing to do with kites, I notice, is to pay attention to the way I look at the way that they're formed. And a kite could be challenging if you resist it. But if you grab onto the right strings, you could go flying, right? So that's kind of what I say about a kite. And so I made notes here that if you hold on to the moon and Vesta, so the moon is very much about your intuition and your emotions. And Vesta is about what you're dedicated to. Okay. And then the other one is moon and Saturn. So use the system to help you. You know, friends, if you're, especially if you're dealing with something in the system, you have to, you know, deal with doctor's appointments or something else, or insurance or whatever's going on, changing your name, things like that. Follow your heart, follow your intuition, and really listen to what you're dedicated to. And that'll help you fly with the system, and make sure you use the system to help you. It can be done sometimes, not all the time, but definitely sometimes. The challenge will be with Moon and Saturn kind of pulling on each other. But you want Uranus is going to be the point, meaning that could really be where it really hurts. Okay. So if you're dealing with name changes, gender reassignment, anything that has to do with the system and that, and your gender variance, that could be challenging. This isn't the best day to go to the office. Go on the 18th. Okay. Don't go on the 19th. Okay, friends. If you have to do anything about if you can adjust the day, go ahead and adjust it to a different day, like maybe earlier in the week or later in the week, just because Uranus is involved here. And Uranus often tells me about gender variance and gender reassignment, surgeries and things like that. You just want to be a little bit careful on this day if you have to deal with the system. Okay, it's only if you have to deal with the system. So just go a day earlier or a day later. And if you must, you don't have any choice in the matter, that's okay. Just try to manage your emotions. Try to not allow them to take off, okay? But stay grounded in your emotions and the system, and know that if you stay to those points, if you stay grounded, it will come out for you, okay? It will work out. Yeah, and like you said, the destiny of the yod. The yod is pointing to Neptune. So if you start finding, and Sun and Venus are conjunct together, so they're shining love down on your third eye with the moon in Leo as well. So Neptune always makes me think about intuition, visions, dreams. If you dream something, if you vision something, you have lucid dreaming, anything like that, pay attention. This is fate. And spirit's trying to get your attention or wake up your third eye.
Absolutely.
Do you have anything about the moon on that day?
No, just what you were saying is, managing your emotions. The moon is in Leo. Leo is a fire sign. The positive sign of Leo, the helpful sign of Leo is to be noble, but Leo can also lean towards arrogant, get pissed off and make it all about them. I know, because I'm a Leo moon. But I'm a 0 Leo moon, so I have sort of an innocence in my Leo moon that's I'm still trying to understand the signs when you're at the very, very beginning, a 0 or a 29, because I have both of those. They call that sometimes the anoretic degree as well. So yeah, think before you speak, and really it's an opportunity to look within, in a good way.
Exactly. Yep.
What is the noble thing to do?
Now, friends, as we go to the 20th, there's more destiny, okay? But I want to say that the grand trine will end, okay? Although there will still be trines, the grand trine will end with the Sun, Mars, Saturn, and Venus. That will start to sort of come apart, which you might feel like things have been going really smoothly, and then all of a sudden, they're not. And you're like, what? So just pay attention to your actions and your thoughts and your thinking, especially if your thinking goes from pretty positive, or your listening goes from pretty positive and now all of a sudden you've shifted to something else. Pay attention.
Yeah.
Good
advice.
But the yod it's still faded. The yod is there. And
now the moon is in Virgo. And Virgo is that nurturing, think it through, grounded energy, and ride it. It's just, I don't know what else to say. Fingers of God, I always feel like they're definitely an opportunity for blessing, but it's sort of, go that way. It all lights up. And you'll know what to do because it'll just be obvious.
So what does it has Jupiter, like I know you said 0, but now this is Jupiter in 0 degrees of Aries. So
yeah, which is kind of like the beginning of the zodiac.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm Jupiter, like, will that make it a little more, because I know Aries seems to be, sometimes can be more aggressive. So you have your nurturing and your communication and your, so is it is it pointing to like watch the aggression with that?
Could be, but Aries is also about athletics.
Okay.
And about being great warrior. So anyone that is doing any kind of warrior work or has Jupiter in Aries, and you need to pay attention, of course, what house it's in. But Aries, yeah, it could be about aggression. Jupiter makes everything it touches bigger, pretty much. But it's usually a more positive energy. Although I think it's retrograde right now.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is retrograde. It you do tend to notice things when they switch signs. Jupiter in Aries is kind of a big deal because it's a big planet. It doesn't move terribly fast, and it has been in Pisces, right?
No, it's actually moving out of Aries now.
Oh, is
It's
it going
moving back
retrograde
to-
out
it's
of
going
Aries
back to Pisces.
Oh my gosh.
Only reason I know is because my Jupiter is in Aries. Okay,
It's like a sloth, man. This is like the sloth high too. So Jupiter is the ruler. Jupiter rules Sagittarius, which is a fire sign. So Jupiter being in a fire sign is more comfortable than when Jupiter goes into Pisces and it's all wet. You know what I mean? We know what I mean. I know what I mean because Jupiter's my ruler. And so yeah, when signs move in and out of, so it's been in Aries for a super long time and now it's slowly crossing back into Pisces. Wow. It's a good,
so this
it's a
would be
good
right
to
on the
remember.
line. It will slowly move back into Pisces, and that will affect things. I think it moves into Pisces next week.
Yeah, most of the outer planets
moves
are
real
still
slow.
retrograde.
Yeah, it
The
moves
inner
pretty
planets
slow.
are all going direct and the outer planets are all still retrograde.
And so you're right, LeKross, to think about Moon in Virgo is nurturing. It's also intuitive, but practical intuitive. Like, maybe I should probably do this for my car. Right? Okay, it's very practical. Okay.
Right.
And then the sun in Libra, of course, is very balanced. And so between those two, it's going to shine bright into that Jupiter in Aries, which can also be about athletics. It can be about, so your exercise, you don't want to over exercise. It might shine the light about maybe some better exercise that you have to do, or some sort of warrior path that you need to be on, or to shift your intention if you're a warrior type. Especially if you have something else in Aries. Like if your sun is in Aries or moon is in Aries, you want to be paying attention to your emotion, especially if if any of those planets are within about 8 degrees of 0 degrees Aries. So that could be into Pisces or it could be into Aries. So you just want to pay attention to what Jupiter's pointing at because it's going to make it bigger. That's pretty much what Jupiter does. It just kind of makes things bigger. It also can make it spiritual. So if you're being called to a spiritual warrior path, this would be the time that something happens and wakes you up and makes you realize, oh, that's the way I'm supposed to do it. Okay. This would be that moment. And we still have 2 grand trines going on, but they will start to end. Okay, so those grand trines will come to an end.
Yep.
Okay. And on the 21st,
the moon goes into Virgo.
Okay.
And at this point, we have another yod. Yeah, here we go again. Here's more yods.
Yeah.
The finger of God, also known as.
So you'll start to notice that if you're a psychic, if you're a medium, if you're any kind of intuitive worker of any kind, or a spiritual person, you will notice that your connection to other dimensions becomes easier to reach. And this is, I think that every year this happens. It's partially the astrology, but it's also stuff like this. The moon in Virgo, it's pointing to your intuitive nature, and it's pulling from maybe some of your wounds, the wounds that you might have, and from the system and crap you've been dealing with around the system. It's going to pull to your intuition, your practical intuition. It's going to pull those energies into it. And the moon is very much about intuition, so don't forget that. And the other yod also involves the moon.
Yeah, it's a waning crescent moon, also very magical. And yeah, it's powerful. This is another one of those breathe, if it starts to feel too intense, slow down and breathe. With Chiron involved, there's always the potential for great healing and harvesting the healing, like recognizing what maybe you couldn't do before you can do now, or just how far you've come.
And
Quite a lot.
for my transgender friends out there, or anyone that tries to push through the gender norms, I want to point out that there's a cradle involving Uranus again, also with Pallas Athena. So I want to so Uranus has been in Taurus for a while, okay? And Uranus often has to do with gender bending. But if you're having to deal with something around your transition, or you're trying to come out to your family, or whatever it is, I want you to stay grounded in, you know who you are. You are dedicated to being the transgender person that you are, or gender nonconforming person, or gender fluid, or maybe you're a feminine gay man. Okay, regardless of what that looks like, I just want to say that if you push those gender boundaries, just always, no matter what happens out here with the emotion and the way people see you, even if they're under an illusion, always come back to, you know who you are. So if you get misgendered on or around this day, if you find yourself challenged in that way, come back to knowing who you are. You don't need other people's approval to be transgender. You don't need someone else to say, okay, you're transgender enough. You don't need any of that. You know who you are, and I believe you. You don't have to prove it to me, and I don't think LeKross would ask you to prove it to him or Brighthawk. So here's 3 people, and we already believe you. If you're gender fluid, you're gender fluid, okay? We believe you. End of story. So just come back to that. Always come back to that. Because on this day, October 21st, you could get misgendered a couple of times in a way that really annoys you, really upsets you. But if you come back to that grounding, I know who I am, even if they don't see me. Okay? I know who I am. Try not to get caught up in that wound. Okay? Do you have anything else on the 21st?
Nope. I think we talked about it.
Okay.
There we go.
The 22nd is going to involve the Grand Trine, a Grand Trine in air again. But this time it's with Mercury, Saturn, and Mars. Mercury's about communication, Saturn's about the system, Mars is about action, all in the air sign, okay? So maybe you have to communicate something about what you need to do with the system, or take action, fill out the paperwork, send in the paper, put the stamp on the thing, and put it in the mail. This is the day to do that. Okay? Because it will, if you just do it, it will go forward from here. This is a good day to do that. The T-square, the point is going to be with Mars and Gemini. So that means your action could be a little chaotic. It could create a little bit of chaos, but try to stay grounded with the Neptune and Jupiter. I'm looking at Neptune and I'm like, wow, Neptune in Pisces and Jupiter in Aries, they're starting to move near each other. Neptune is what I call the psychic planet, because that's pretty much what it is. It's about dreams, it's about visions, but it's also about like psychic awareness and third eye and stuff like that. Not just intuition, but the moon is involved in Virgo. And what's the...
Yeah, but the moon at 27, with the sun already having crossed into Scorpio, that's a void moon is what I believe
Oh.
that's called.
Hmm.
And so it's not powerful, it's not strong, it's void.
Okay.
And then when it crosses into Scorpio, then it's not. So yeah, that's what I noticed. I was sitting there looking at the degrees and thinking about where the sun was and going, oh, that's what our teacher was talking about when they talk about the void moon.
Oh, okay, I see. Well, thanks for bringing that in.
Yeah, I don't usually see it, but this time I did. So
a T-square usually means two things are in opposition to each other, and then they have a trine, a better, or a square, sorry, a square to something that they're pointing to. Okay. So there's two things in opposition, plus they're in a square to another planet. Okay. And now this one is what's this? The moon in, I'm pretty sure that would be Virgo, and the Neptune and Pisces are in opposition. And I'm thinking Jupiter must be getting close to Neptune. And so the two of them are in opposition to the moon. But since the moon is void, you may notice that your emotions are kind of out of things here. And that it's less intense, less emotionally intense, but it could be very psychically intense.
Yeah,
with the Jupiter.
Jupiter. That's a new astrological term. You heard it here first.
When Neptune and Jupiter are conjunct, it's a Jupiter.
Okay.
And with Mars and Gemini, I feel like that could add a little bit of chaos. So, it's okay. Just float through it. Try to go with the flow on that day. But also, be aware that, Neptune and Jupiter are starting to come near each other. So if you're any kind of psychic or any kind of worker like that, of course, that's getting stronger. I mean, yes, the veil is thinning, so it makes it easier to communicate with our spirit guides, makes it easier to communicate with the other side, anyone that's passed over. I think it also makes it easier to do any kind of psychic work, anything that is, that has to do with reaching to the other side, mostly because you use your guides for a lot of that. So it makes it easier to communicate with your guides. It's a more smooth communication, and you don't have to try as hard. We will enter on the 23rd.
Happy birthday, Scorpio.
Happy birthday, Scorpios, because that is the day that Sun and Venus will move into Scorpio at the same time, pretty much, because they're conjunct still. Like I said, they're moving in the sky together. And the Sun and Venus in Scorpio, well, that's about transformation, my friends. And we are having the eclipse will be in Scorpio, right?
Right. And the eclipse will be on the 24th, 5th. Depending on where you are, right? And so in addition to that, the next day from this, we end up with a stellium because the sun and Venus are traveling together. They've entered Scorpio, and Mercury and the moon are right behind them in Libra. So there's this clump of energy. With stellium is 3 or more planets together within, is it 10 degrees? Something like that. Could even be a little bit wider than that. So a huge amount of energy. And with the sun involved, the sun is almost always going to be the strongest energy of the four. But of course, with Venus, the moon, and Mercury, it's going to be about our emotions and about how we feel about it and talking and communicating. And then of course
very romantic too, LeKross, for your anniversary.
True.
Yeah,
True.
Stick
That
to
won't
that.
be so bad. Well, this is going to go all the way from the 23rd to the 28th. Okay.
Yeah. Well, no, that's the grand trine, Will. But Sun and Venus and all of these planets moving into Scorpio will go on through your anniversary. Yep. They'll go on into November. Yeah.
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 And then on November 7, 8, we have a total lunar eclipse. But we'll get to that when we get to it.
Yeah. for now, it's mostly good to focus on the 23rd through the 28th here. What I'm pointing out is another grand trine in air. So if you find yourself thinking, listening, speaking, now's the time to do it and take action, especially regarding the system, especially regarding any messages that need to be delivered. Okay. And with Sun and Venus, and then the Moon and Mercury following them into Scorpio. Scorpio is all about transformation, my friends. It's all about truth coming to the top. It's also about really intense energy, but also about beautiful transformation. And it usually is leading you to a better place, a good place. So try not to get too caught up in your emotions. A couple of things that I like to remind you is, first of all, you are not your thoughts. So if you're thinking something that you don't like, you don't have to get caught up in it. You don't have to grab hold of it, okay? You can just let thoughts come in and then let them go. Okay. And you don't have to listen to every thought you have. And I think thoughts, and what you should always remember about thoughts, is thoughts lead to feelings. And feelings lead to actions. So if you lose your temper, reverse. What happened there? What was the thought that led you to losing your temper? What was the thought that led you to that moment of depression and then, not going to be with your friends or eating too much or indulging in your favorite, whatever, okay? Maybe getting too drunk with your friends or something, okay? Whatever it is that you're doing that you're like, why do I keep doing that? Sabotaging myself. Pay attention to your thoughts. That means getting present. That might mean sitting down and breathing, taking a few breaths, and like LeKross is always saying, pay attention to what's around you. Notice that there is a bee or a bird flying by. Take a moment to take that in. So that's like my big thing that I think if we took more time to think about that, then maybe we could back things up. And I also want to say that you can control your thoughts, by the way. In case you didn't know, you can control your thoughts. You can change them. I sometimes tell my critical one, I'm a Virgo, so sometimes I can be super critical of myself and others. So I just tell myself to go take a break. Thank you for that. I hear you. We don't need to think about that anymore. Thank you. Take a walk. And so, don't be afraid to dismiss parts of you that don't make sense, because you don't have to listen to it.
A good one to say to yourself is, I can handle this. I got this. So work out. Everything always works out. It does. One way or another, everything always works out. It'll work out.
LeKross, I'm sure you got some great advice in that manner.
Oh, and the thoughts?
Yeah.
As far as the thoughts, I think that's the whole thing is when they start running or they start racing, as quick as they come in, is you have to let them out. You can't let them stir, because if you keep them in there, then they're just going to create havoc. And me as an overthinker, which I will go over a situation and I'll go over in every possible scenario that I can. And it's literally just getting to the point where you're like, and being gentle with yourself on that, because if you're an overthinker, because I think that's a problem. You think, and then you get hard on yourself. And you're like, oh, why'd I do that? It's more like, okay, I get what's happening. I get it. I understand. Just relax, let it go. Because at the end, there's nothing you can do about it anyway. You can't control it. You can't, in the sense, you can't control the situation. So let it come in and let it go. And realize it's
We
Yeah.
get so much better at letting shit go as we get
Yeah,
older.
I
I'm
think
gonna
so.
say
Oh,
It does
for
come with
real.
age. It does come with age.
it does.
It helps. It sure helps.
Yeah, so there is a difference between being 20 and being 40. There's a huge difference, more than just 20 years. And I hope that and I recognize when I see young people, I sometimes am like, wow, remember when you were young, you were just able to just kind of fly free through life and there are some great blessings and there's also some parts where it's like, you didn't think that through, did you? Uh, and so I want to say that instead of making separation between age, instead, we can all teach each other something.
Absolutely.
And when we come together, no matter what our age is, and we just recognize what are the blessings of being young, what are the blessings of being old, what are the challenges to being young, what are the challenges to being old. We come to terms with our bodies and age, and come to terms with our health, and we have to pay a whole lot more attention to those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, I think we could all learn from each other. And if we did that, wouldn't we be all so much more blessed as a result?
Absolutely.
So, my friends, I'm going to pull 3 cards for you. I'm going to pull 3 tarot cards. Remember, in this whole broadcast and in this reading now, please take what you like and leave the rest, and be sure to leave space and leave openness for whatever you may need to receive, and be open to new ways of thinking about things. And that's what's so important when you come to a soul astrology forecast. Just be willing to think about things a little differently. So here it is. This is our past. This is a reminder about the Ace of Pentacles, which, remember, friends, is about your blessings, especially your material blessings. So don't take those things for granted, because Spirit's reminding you that you have those things. Now, if you're one of those people that's like, Hollis, I have nothing in the bank account, I'm going to go, yeah, but you do have a home to live in, right? And you do have a phone so you can listen to this podcast. Not everybody does. Okay, friends? So I remember when my bank account had 0 too, okay? And some days it still has 0. So just hang in there, okay? This is a reminder of what you do have, because there are some people in the world that have nothing. So you need to just recognize what to be grateful for, okay? These are also about your gifts to the world. The Pentacles is also about your gifts to the world. That's why there is like a picture of a hand holding it, and there's like a little seedling growing up here, because this is a reminder of what you have growing in the background, okay? And what's coming to you, because there are things coming to you, believe it or not, there are. And right now, I am noticing this. This is the Devil card. This is right now. This is about temptations. This is about the things we do that aren't the greatest for us. This is about the times that we choose our darker side, or choose to listen to our dark side, or engage in our dark side. There's nothing wrong with that. Just be aware of it. Overindulgence can, lead us to not so great places. But sometimes you have to go to that not so great place. Sometimes it's necessary to overindulge. I've done it, been there, done that. So if you'd like to do that, you can do that. But this card is about pointing to that. It's about pointing to that darkness within you. All of us have darkness within us, and just know that it's there. That's what this is all about. Recognizing our temptations, recognizing our darker side, recognizing also that we all have a darker side, and to try to harvest compassion for that, especially because going forward, I believe we are all headed towards the light. And the next card forward is the Sun. So these are very strong cards. I'm just going to say the Ace of Pentacles, the Devil, and the Sun. The Sun going forward, which is in this card, is about rainbows and butterflies, transformations, becoming the queen or the king, or the the head of your castle, however that looks. fulfilling bucket list things. That's exactly what this is about. This is about all the beautiful things that you dream of, whatever those things might be, friend. That's what this is about. So remember the past, which is the Ace of Pentacles, which is your gifts, and pay attention to what you have in your material world. Pay attention to your darkness, your shadow points. Don't be afraid to embrace them. Just be aware not to overindulge, because as you go forward, the light will shine forward, and your dreams and your beliefs and your visions for your future will come true. So, my friends, that's your astrology reading for today for Soulstrology Rainbow Soul. Thanks for tuning in.
It's been a pleasure to be with you again. I hope you enjoyed our Soulstrology.
Thank you to our listeners. Thank you so much for liking, subscribing, commenting, whatever you can do, depending on what platform you're on. We so appreciate you, and thank you. So thank you, listeners, to engage in the platform, whatever platform you're listening to this on. Please like it. Please share it with your friends. Please share it on Facebook or whatever you're up to, even if you just comment and say thanks. That helps us, okay? That big helps us. Just saying, a shout out to one of our commenters last week, Gilles. Thank you, Gilles, for saying you appreciate our forecast. We appreciate you. Thanks for listening. Thank you for commenting. And thank you, LeKross, for doing the editing part.
Yeah.
And also bringing your wisdom. I appreciate your wisdom.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I love learning. Every week it's something new. I'm like, wait. So.
And look, you're figuring it out.
Little by little, I'm starting to figure. I'm like, oh, I know what that is.
And isn't that interesting that astrology is like that? If you're trying to learn astrology, friends, this is the best way to do it. Listen to the weather and start to get to know your own chart.
For sure. And we wish you all the very, very best.
And thank you, Bright Hawk, for bringing beautiful music and wisdom about the moon. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Always a pleasure. Thank you. Great job.
Thanks, friends.
All right.
All right. And good night.
Good night.
Or have a great day.
Or so.
Thank you for listening to this week's Soulstrology and subscribing, liking, sharing, and reviewing. We hope you enjoy this dose of Soulstrology and encourage you to embrace the week ahead with an open mind and heart so that you may integrate the deepest of lessons from the stars. Take a moment to step outside and honor the planets, stars, and moon in the sky with your heart. Integrate the messages that resonate and leave the rest for someone else. We deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Always remember that you are a perfectly unique human with an exclusive star map of your destiny, your soul purpose, and your heart's desire. Thank you again for tuning in to Rainbow Soul.